What Christians often don't understand in the culture wars and in the fight for life is that abortion is not just one issue among many. Abortion is almost the linchpin upon which the liberal establishment swings. But what happens when you pull out a linchpin? The door falls off.
It takes a long time to go from a few intellectuals believing some bad ideas to bringing those ideas into the culture more and more and more until they bear fruit. The answer how we got here is because of the silence and inaction of the church.
Somebody might say, well, you know, Margaret Sanger, she didn't quite know exactly what she was doing. Well, first of all, you're speaking from ignorance because she wrote about herself and she wrote what her plans were, so much so that she, impressed Adolf Hitler. How do you impress Hitler?
My father walks up to me wearing a BLM shirt, and he says to me, "Why are you out here fighting a white man's issue?" But he was a walking poster child for all things CRT, because in critical race theory, you see racism in all things and at all times. Even when a 6'4", 260-pound black man is trying to save a baby.
We're going to expose and discover who the real Margaret Sanger was and how her attack and assault against the family in America explains our current culture of death and upside-down world that we're living in today. This is where it all started. It was here that Sanger opened up her first unlicensed, illegal birth control clinic in 1916.
Study the past, not just to understand what happened then, but to understand what's happening now.
This is a Leviathan. How it's a fitting place to remember what happens when bad ideas are taken to their logical conclusion.
We bless the holy name of Jesus and we shout, let the baby live. Let the baby live. Let the baby live.
Stop waiting for someone else to grow a righteous culture of life for you and on your family's behalf. It will not happen. If not you, who? If not now, when?
All right, we're going to start here. Hey, y'all. Welcome to Cross Politic Live. We're actually on the road here in Nashville. We're at Christ Church, Nashville, in their chapel building, actually in their prayer room. Today was the sentencing for Paul Vaughn. And for those who are maybe just becoming alert or not in the know of what's been going on, Paul Vaughn and the Nashville 10 are part of the pro-life movement here in kind of the Nashville area. And in 2021, wasn't it 2021? In 2021, Paul Vaughn and the Nashville 10 were peacefully protesting a Planned Parenthood in town. The cops came, peaceful separation, peaceful protest. Nothing happened. The cops didn't cite them. The district attorney didn't go after them. But when Biden came into power and Roe v. Wade was already ended by this point, the Biden administration weaponized the FBI to go after the Nashville 10. They used to be called the Nashville 11, but that's a detail we'll get into later. So the Nashville 10 ended up going to trial, getting convicted. And as I remember it, this is Steve. This is the lawyer for Paul Vaughn and who else?
Dr. Boyd, Coleman Boyd.
Dr.
Not
Coleman.
Paul Vaughn, Dr. Coleman Boyd.
You're the lawyer for Dr. Coleman Boyd,
Yes.
but you were here watching Paul Vaughn sentencing.
That's correct.
Okay. And how it all shook out. And so the trial, as I understood it, you were not allowed to bring in First Amendment arguments or religious arguments.
They were allowed only to the slightest degree to prove intent,
Okay.
otherwise kept out.
Okay.
As to why they were there, did they have the right to be there, the judge would not let us get into that.
Okay. So the judge restricted argumentation in a way that made things more difficult. And also, it was the Nashville 11, but became the Nashville 10 because one of the Nashville, what was then the Nashville 11, one of the gals turned and testified in court against them because she got a plea deal from the government.
Correct.
And so that's the backdrop. So Paul was getting sentenced today, has been sentenced today. We'll get to that in a minute. And then there's still 9 more people that need to get sentenced in the next couple weeks.
No, they'll be divided into two groups. There were 6 that were charged with a felony, and those 6 were tried together.
Okay.
And Paul Vaughn was one of those 6. Dr. Boyd's one of those 6.
Mm-hmm.
The other,
The other 6?
well, 4, 10.
Yeah,
The 4 were tried. They were only charged with the FACE Act misdemeanor.
Okay.
And they were tried later, and they'll be sentenced later.
Okay. So we're dealing with the 6 today, tomorrow, and then after 4th of July.
Well, one more detail is that 2 of these 6 are being charged with the same charges in Michigan, and their sentencing has been postponed for that reason. So tomorrow we'll go through 3: Calvin Zastro, Dr. Coleman Boyd, and the third one I hope. Dennis Green. Thank you.
Okay. And so there was 2 that are also charged with FACE Act charges in Michigan that are being charged with FACE Act charges here in Nashville.
Chester Gallagher and Heather O'Doney.
Oh, really?
Heather O'Doney is the grandmother who was sentenced in Washington, D.C. to serve 2 years for a similar pro-life rally.
Yep.
And she's in jail serving time.
And she'll be sentenced again here in Nashville?
Yes. Correct.
Wow.
But that's been postponed.
Why has it been postponed? Because now they know there's her sentencing?
I believe she's also charged in Michigan, as I remember.
So there's
all
3
states.
here. There's 3 here. There's D.C., there's Michigan, and there's Tennessee. And Heather O'Doney was involved in all 3.
Was she the only one in that category involved in all 3?
She's the only one that was involved in all 3.
Wow.
Yeah, right.
And so she was like 72 or something like that?
She's in her 70s, I know.
Yeah. And so she was already sentenced in D.C. for 2 years.
Yes.
And then Nashville and Michigan, is she waiting for the Michigan sentencing before she gets the Nashville sentencing?
The Michigan trial hasn't taken place yet.
Oh.
So we're waiting for the Michigan trial to take place.
Okay. Incredible. So today, Paul's sentencing, one of the reasons why we're doing this is because the church nationwide has not been paying attention to this, doesn't know about it very well, is largely ignorant to what's going on. We basically have brothers and sisters who are being persecuted in Jesus' name through these trials. You remember, we do righteous regardless. We obey God regardless. We don't call evil good. We don't call good evil. And these Nashville 10 and others that are under this FACE Act violation, they were peacefully protesting Planned Parenthood. They're peacefully protesting the murder of babies. And the Biden administration weaponized the federal government, the FBI, to arrest them, and now are weaponizing, kind of the lawfare of the courts to go against the Nashville 10. So today, Paul was sentenced at 2 p.m. Central Time. And what you want to say, talk about and describe what happened there, Steve?
Yes, I'll be glad to. He was facing under the felony charges that the jury convicted him, possibly 10 years. That's
up to
10
years. Yeah.
Now, there were 2 charges. There's a felony charge and there's a FACE Act misdemeanor. But the more serious one was a felony charge. He was facing 10 years.
Wow.
The government comes in and goes through a set of factors they call aggravating factors, mitigating factors, and recommend a sentence. The government had recommended 1 year and 1 day. I believe I remember right.
So was that the prosecuting attorney? The prosecutor recommended that?
It was the United States Probation Office.
Okay.
They do a preliminary pre-sentencing report. They give it to the judge. They tell the judge, what things about Paul Vaughn, his wife, his children, his work, his life, a lot of history about Paul.
Yeah.
So she had that pre-sentencing report, that recommendation from the probation office.
Yeah.
The government prosecution can either agree or disagree, and they give the judge their opinion. Paul's attorney, Steve Crampton, submitted his pre-sentence position paper. The judge considered all that, and then today we heard a representative from CARE from the abortion clinic come and make a statement as if they were a victim. That was a bit sketch, but and the judge even noted that they didn't come and testify at the trial, but they come in at sentencing and give a pretty long statement. But nevertheless, that's pretty common for a victim to be allowed to say something at a sentencing. And Paul got to say something in his own position there at the sentencing. And after all that was done, the judge said, "Okay, here's what my ruling is. Here's what my sentence I'm going to impose." Yeah. And that sentence was 3 years of probation. Yep. And no jail time. Yep. But Paul is essentially on house arrest for 3 months.
6 months is what I heard.
6 months. Yeah. I was calculating these things as I was listening.
Yeah.
He's on house arrest for a period of 6 months. He's on probation, but no jail time. And the judge gave him. She commented on the fact that he was a service to his community, underserved community in Tennessee, where he runs an internet business, he provides internet service, and all the other things that Paul has done for his community.
Yeah.
None of us should be surprised that the Christians who are at these rallies are those kind of people.
Serving community.
Right.
Yeah. Why 6 months home probation? Does that mean he can't leave home for 6 months?
Well, she said that there were exceptions to that, like religious exception, no doubt to go to church. My guess, we'd have to flesh out those details. He'll do that with the probation office. Medical reasons, go to the hospital. And I don't remember the others that she gave, but he'll have all of that in the
written
transcript, right?
Okay. So he'll be wearing a bracelet of some kind?
Oh, I didn't hear that.
Okay.
I wasn't taking detailed notes, but I didn't hear a bracelet. It's just house arrest, and that's if he violates those conditions,
he go to jail.
Right. Someone can see him, can report him. Probation office can send a marshal, have him arrested, and go to jail.
Okay, so then that 6 months is included in the 3-year probation. Correct.
Yes, it is.
It's not 6 plus 3-year probation,
That's
right?
Yeah.
What does the 3-year probation look like? Is it like you can't leave the state unless you talk to your parole officer? You can't do this unless you talk to your parole officer? What is that?
I didn't catch all those conditions, but I know one of them is he can't go anywhere within 100 feet of a reproductive health service provider.
He can't participate. One other one was he can't participate in any online or in-person trainings that have to do with rescue.
Yeah, that's right. Correct.
Really?
Right. Yeah. Right. So he'll have all of those in front of him to work through, read and follow carefully.
Yeah.
Right now we're operating on memory of sitting in the.
Yeah. So for those who are just tuning in, we're talking about Paul Vaughn sentencing that happened today at 2 p.m. Central Time. Paul Vaughn was sentenced, to summarize this, Paul Vaughn was sentenced to no jail time, thank God, but 3 years probation, which inside of that was 6 months of house arrest or house arrest. Is that what it is?
I'll call it house arrest for short.
Yeah. Okay.
It means he's confined to his home premises
for 6 months.
Yeah.
And so that's a relief. Now, what does that make you think about the other sentencings coming up? Because Paul, not only did he have the FACE Act, but he also had the conspiracy to commit a crime, conspiracy charges.
Yes.
So he had 2 things, and only one other guy has the same 2 charges as Paul, and then everyone else just has the FACE Act charge, correct?
No, not correct.
I got it all wrong.
Right. You have 6 defendants who are all charged with FACE Act violation and a conspiracy to commit a FACE Act violation.
6. Okay.
The FACE Act violation is a misdemeanor. The conspiracy is a felony. All 6 of those were convicted of both of those charges by the jury.
Yeah.
And now all 6 of those are subject to be sentenced by the judge.
Yeah. Okay.
Like I said, 2 of them have been postponed, and 3 of them will go forward tomorrow.
Okay.
Paul went forward today.
I see.
Now,
does that, at the time when the FBI arrested Paul, what were the charges? Just the misdemeanor FACE Act?
No, the same charges we are facing.
Including conspiracy?
Yes.
Okay.
After the indictment came down, in the indictment are all the charges I just described to you.
Okay. Because I got some friends in the FBI and watching, was it Paul Hulk? What's his name? The guy in Pennsylvania.
What is his name? Do you remember? His Catholic guy.
Paul, Catholic guy.
I can't think of his name now either. I think it is Hope, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he was just charged with misdemeanor stuff.
I think that's right.
And
he was assaulted in front of an abortion.
Yeah,
clinic.
that's right. Yeah.
But by a worker.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, not by
Paul was
peaceful and standing there.
Paul was at home whenever vehicles arrived with people they are 15s surrounding his house and took him into custody.
Mark Hulk. Thank you. So my point there is the January 6th, same kind of concept. They were all targeted with misdemeanors. And my friends who are part of the FBI said it before January 6th, it was unheard of for FBI to go after misdemeanor charges and arrest for misdemeanor charges.
These cases, this group of cases, is the first time I have any awareness of the 18 U.S.C. 241, which is a conspiracy statute from the KKK era that's aimed at convicting people who conspired to prevent people from voting. That's the first time it's been used in a pro-life rally.
Wow.
Conspiracy to commit. One of the arguments that we made at trial was, yes, these people all agreed on something, that's for sure. They all agreed to meet here and to protect life, to speak First Amendment right, protected speech. They didn't agree to violate any law. But this conspiracy statute was thrown at them said, okay, y'all all conspired to violate FACE Act.
Right. How do you handle the question? So when COVID hit 2020, and they shut down churches in Idaho, I'm just talking about my state, Idaho, they shut down churches. Me and my friends sued the governor saying you can't shut down churches. And so when the governor saw that, he removed churches from his emergency order. We still wanted to go to court, so we were trying to push as much as we can. The judge takes it up and says, hey, Governor Little removed the churches off the shutdown emergency health order, so this is kind of a moot point. Follow me?
Yes, I do.
And so we're like, but wait, no, damage is still done. We still were ordered shut down in April. Damage is still done. You can't just say it's a moot point because problems happen, right? But the judge is like, it's a moot point. But the judge did say, if the governor does this again, please bring it back and I'll pick it up.
Okay.
My thought was, Roe v. Wade ended in 2021, June 2021, correct? Or is it June 2022? Okay. So Roe v. Wade ends in June 2022. Well, now the national law, or whatever you want to call it, ruling has no application anymore on these federal charges. So why didn't this judge say, oh, it's a moot point, Roe v. Wade's done, we can't do anything about this? The FACE Act's a moot point.
Actually, there's some great complications in there, and that we made an argument. We asked the judge to dismiss these charges because Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health overruled Roe versus Wade, and the Supreme Court has said repeatedly that constitutional rule that they made has to be applied retroactively. So it should have been applied retroactively to these folks and said there is no abortion right in Tennessee. So therefore, these people are asking the state of Tennessee to enforce the law against abortion.
Wow.
However, the judge said, no, I'm not going to apply Dobbs retroactively. We're going to act like this is a crime committed. It's just like the judge acted like it was a crime committed, whatever, robbery, larceny. Yeah. The law changed for sure, but the law back then was it was a crime, and therefore we proceed forward. And that's the construct by which she managed this case.
Okay. One last question. I know you got to go. You got to get back here tomorrow for your case. I got Darren here with me. I got Jason standing in the wings. What is, just even under the grounds that we discuss, what's the likelihood of a pill working and being effective, and how long might it take?
The appeal is probably going to take something on the neighborhood of 2 to 3 years.
Wow.
And the appeal is already in the works.
Yeah.
It's been in the works since the motion to dismiss was in.
Filed today. Okay.
We wait until Paul is sentenced. We wait until the other people are sentenced, and then the lawyers for the defendants go up on appeal. We'll appeal to the Sixth Circuit, and then from there, we anticipate we'll appeal to the Supreme Court. Yeah. And one of those issues is going to be whether Dobbs should have been applied retroactively. There'll be other issues. We've got a long list of them, but appeal is being prepared.
I have a question.
Yes.
If you win the appeal and go to the Supreme Court, you win the appeal, would the result of that be the end of the FACE Act then?
No. Well, it depends on what the Supreme Court does. We're going to ask the Supreme Court to find the FACE Act unconstitutional because of a variety of complex legal reasons. The FACE Act was adopted on the basis that abortion was a federal national right. Yeah. Well, that is not a federal national right. Does the Congress have the authority to enact that, to regulate all over the United States? Our trial judge said they do, and so she denied our motion. But will the Sixth Circuit agree, or will the Supreme Court agree? So we'll ask them to overturn FACE. But if they don't overturn FACE, but overturn this case on other grounds, then we'll either come back or we'll have all the charges dismissed. Yeah. One of the tragedies of like Heather Adoni serving time is that she serves times while we appeal. Once the appeal is, let's say it is overturned, well, she's already served time. Yeah. And her damage,
she can't get that back.
Her injury has been done. And so, that's a reason to be grateful to Judge Trauger here for not sending Paul. And we're hoping that she will look at these other defendants, particularly the defendants who serve their community, and say, and she said in today's proceeding, she said the injury of facing a felony of 10 years, the trauma to your family, all those are injuries, or not, she didn't say injuries, but all those are sufficient to make the point that this is a serious crime and their seriousness to be considered. And Paul Vaughn doesn't need to go spend time in jail to get the message. Mm-hmm. And so we're grateful for that.
Well, we'll let you go, Steve. Thank you for joining us.
Glad to do it.
We'll have a safe trip.
Thanks.
We'll see you back tomorrow.
All
Jason, I want to get you in here. All right. So to recap, everybody, again, we're here in Nashville, Tennessee. We're at Christ Church, Nashville. We're in their chapel hall. We're actually in their prayer room. And we're here supporting the Nashville 10 and what's going on in Tennessee. Paul Vaughn was sentenced today. Now, I was anticipating jail time for Paul.
Oh, yeah.
With the conspiracy charges,
Yeah.
with what happened in D.C., the verdict in the trial sentencing that happened in D.C., I just couldn't see how Paul wouldn't get some sort of jail time.
Right. Yeah.
So we're grateful for that, and we should be, but also we're in the situation where evil's being called good, good's being called evil, and Paul was standing in a hallway in Planned Parenthood while they were murdering babies on the other side of the room, right? Yeah. And Paul's the one sentenced. Yeah. And the judge is talking about this is a serious crime. Like Paul's crime was serious. Yeah. And while babies are getting murdered. So I kind of want to, I'm still thinking through this kind of live right now. But how are you guys thinking about, okay, thankful that Paul didn't go to jail. We're all grateful for that. But it's like, how egregious is the situation that Paul was even under this kind of scrutiny and the whole Nashville 10?
Well, we see, and that's what we've been talking about. And a lot of the guys that were there at the courthouse were talking about, on the one hand, it's praise God, Paul doesn't have to go to prison. Yeah. We're tremendously grateful for that. And that was the tremendous mercy and grace of God. And so we want to celebrate, and there was a lot of celebrating. At the same time, that celebration is mixed still with this sense of injustice. Yeah. The fact that Paul or any of these people are facing prosecution, federal prosecution, for any of these acts demonstrates a tremendous injustice that exists in our land right now. Yeah. And two things I would say about that. One is the church needs to begin to rise up and see what's happening, because this is a situation where the federal government is cherry picking these laws that they can use against peaceful Christians. And it's a situation that we've seen many times in history before. Yeah. It's Paul Vaughn today. It's Chet Gallagher today. Yeah. And it could be you tomorrow. Yeah. I mean, Paul Vaughn has 3 carloads worth of agents show up at his house with long guns. That's him
rifles,
today.
Rifles drawn.
That's him today. That could be you tomorrow, A. Yeah. And then B, this type of tyranny is downstream of allowing the shedding of innocent blood to happen for so long in our land. Right. People are murdering babies, and bloodshed begets bloodshed. Yeah. And so we're in desperate need of national repentance right now. We have 6 conservative red states that are looking to put abortion on the ballot in November.
And abortion measures.
Yeah, they're going to make abortion a constitutional right in all 6 of those states. Yeah.
What states? Do you remember those off the top of your head? Yeah, there's 6 states. Real quick, let me read this real quick. 6 states right now are looking at conservative states, not talking liberal. These conservative are states, red states that are talking about putting abortion measures, protective abortion measures that'll keep it constitutional in those states that you can abort your baby in the state. Right. So what states are those?
Yeah, so you have Missouri and Arkansas, Florida, Arizona, Montana, and South Dakota.
Wow, so that's 7.
Yeah, those states are all red leaning states. Yeah. And they did it in Ohio, right?
Yep, I saw that.
The state that went 57% for Trump twice. Yep. Went 57% to vote to legalize, essentially enshrined into their state constitution. Yeah. I mean, so we have never won when it's been on the ballot. That's the scary thing. Is anytime abortion has been on the ballot, all they need in all these states is 50% plus 1, except Florida is 60 plus 1.
Oh, good.
So we're working and getting on the ground in all those states, trying to do massive church mobilization, because the church is not really involved. Sadly, you have a lot of guys in those states, a lot of Bible-believing churches that are not getting their congregations out, engaging their community. Mm-hmm. And that's what we're trying to do. So, man, you got to get your church out, door knocking, putting out literature in the community.
Let me pause that. Stop right there so we don't miss this point. So Operation Save America, that's kind of your goal is these next year to focus on these 6 states, basically.
I
think it's huge.
5 months right now, right?
Yeah, we got 5 months.
We have 5 months.
This is the typical spear in this fight.
What do you mean you have 5 months? The votes will happen in November, along with the presidential election.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Exactly. So we're in a tight window here.
Mm-hmm.
And
millions of dollars are being poured into all these states by big leftist organizations around the world. Really.
Right. Yeah. Well, and then you got, I'm sure Big Pharma's involved. Yeah. Because
protecting IVF.
Not just IVF, but trans meds. Because we all know Planned Parenthood's heavy on the trans meds.
Big time.
So, but they see all that as it's all part of the same revenue generating, mouth to feed with the Big Pharma.
When this goes back to worship. there is a religious system involved in this, and abortion is the sacrament of that system. And right now, what we're seeing happen after post-Roe versus Wade, we're seeing the weakness of the pro-life movement, and we're seeing the weakness of Republican leaders in these red states. And what we're seeing even red states being overwhelmed with this issue of abortion. And if we lose these, I don't mean to sound the alarm too hard, but if we lose these 5 states, the consequences for that, this circles all the way back around to Paul Vaughn.
Domino effect.
Yeah, right. Because it reaffirms that the people want abortion, the people want the shedding of innocent blood, that it reaffirms everything that's happened with these 11 people, that abortion is a right that should be protected. And what Christians need to do, it's a spiritual battle, it's also a political battle, and we need the church to rise up and fight it on a spiritual front and a political front.
So this is a question I want to pose you guys, because I said at the very beginning of this interview that the church, most of the churches, I was in Dallas, Fort Worth last week, I'm now in Nashville this week. A lot of people I've talked to in the last couple of weeks, and their churches just don't know what's happening with the Nashville 10. They just don't. Right? The church's head is buried in the sand.
Yes.
We aren't paying attention to political news around us that's literally affecting our brothers and sisters with jail time, threatening them with jail time, has already put some of them in jail and everything, and the church doesn't know about this. If it's my opinion that if the church knew about this and was putting their prophetic voice and energy into this case, I don't think the trial would have gone the same way at all. I think the judge would have felt the pressure. I think the trial would have been a lot more fair and even. I think the jury would have, been influenced a little bit by it all, right? Even though they try to protect the jury, everybody knows what's going on, especially if there's a lot of pressure being applied. And so if the church would just speak up and just show a prophetic voice and understand what's going on politically with other Christians, with part of the broader body of Christ, we would, I believe, have an impact on situations like this.
Without a doubt. And that's what we saw in Ohio. We were on the ground in Ohio last October. We came in last minute and, with limited funding and limited time and tried to mobilize people. What we found is in Ohio, many solid Bible-believing churches just weren't engaged. I mean, they just really hadn't done much of anything. And a lot of it is, of course, good shepherds are busy shepherding their congregations. They're not necessarily paying attention to all the nuances of what's going on politically around the nation. But, what I would say to pastors, especially, you got to have men in your congregation who you can appoint and equip who are able to sort of take the lead on that sort of thing. And so what we're trying to do is we're trying to identify men, sort of lay leaders in a lot of these churches who can be a church coordinator for us that we can pour resources into, so that the pastor's not overburdened with that, so those churches can be activated and just take responsibility for their own communities. You get 10,000 churches in Florida, 10,000 churches in Arkansas and in Montana, to actually just get out and start now, 5 months before, start door knocking, start getting on the streets, getting equipped in how to articulate this issue biblically, how to think biblically about it, and start engaging their neighbors, start engaging their communities, start going out, putting literature out in their communities. That's going to move the needle big time, and we can win. If we don't do that, we're going to absolutely lose. The Republican Party has already sort of thrown in the towel on this issue, and that's really what's at stake right here.
That's exactly
is they're already saying we got to distance ourselves from abortion, and if we lose these fights, the narrative will absolutely be, and it will have proven itself true. We can't win on abortion.
But I think
even in a state like Arkansas, even in a state like Idaho,
even in Ohio.
So
and a lot of Christians don't really. I think a lot of Christians don't really understand how bad off we are when it comes to this issue. We saw that in Ohio. There were many Christians.
A blue collar state, we should have won.
Trump, if everybody votes for Trump in November, in each of these states associates that, voting for Trump and vote no on these things, we can win. But is Trump going to come out and support us? Only if we twist his arm. We got to twist the guy's arm.
So that's we are. If you live in one of these 5 states that we just mentioned, you need to understand abortion will be a constitutional right in your state this time.
If you don't act.
If you don't take action.
And sadly, there's not a single state. 2 years after Dobbs, 2 years after the reversal of Roe, we do not have a single state in this country where abortion is actually fully criminal. Women are still getting abortions, thousands in every one of these states.
Medication, whatever.
The pill abortions. They're getting pills in Idaho and in Texas and in Oklahoma and Arkansas. And that's why I think it's good that we have 14 states that have banned abortion, and that's a good thing in the sense that it's good that abortion's been brought under their homicide statutes. It's good that a doctor can't perform an abortion. It's good that young kids are being taught now and that abortion is a homicide, but mothers are exempted from punishment, as we know, and so babies are still being killed in all these states by the thousands, and so we got a lot of work to do.
All right. Well, a course of action that you guys need to take. First of all, thank God for Paul
Amen.
Vaughn not going to jail. That's
Praise the
a
Lord.
big. But we got 3 more tomorrow,
Yes.
right?
Please pray for them.
Be praying for them. Their sentencings are something like at 1, 2, and 3 or something
Yeah,
like
it
that.
starts at 1 o'clock. Yeah. 1
And
o'clock.
so be praying for them. I've talked to some lawyers on the inside. They really believe that what's the first guy?
I think
Cal-
it's
Cal?
Chet. I think
Chet.
no,
Chet.
not Chet. You probably Coleman Boyd goes
Cal-
first.
No, maybe it's Coleman. Coleman. I heard. Word is they think Coleman's going to get jail time.
No, that's Cal.
Is that Chet? Is that Chet?
Cal.
Cal.
And
I
then-
can't get them all right. I apologize
Yeah.
for Cal and Chet.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
But so there is still at least a likelihood that some of these gentlemen can go to jail and everything. So be praying that God has mercy on the judge, and be praying for the church. The church needs to rise up. The church needs to own kind of this moment too.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, we need to own the fact that like our guys are in harm's way of federal jail time, and we aren't there to support them or back them or put pressure on the political powers to back off. We aren't there.
Yeah, right.
Not there. We're in Tennessee. We're in church world. We're in Bibleville.
That's right. Yeah.
And hardly anybody knows here. So we're doing a big rally tonight here in about an hour. So be praying for that.
Yes, please.
And thank you for sharing the show. Make sure your church knows about this. Share the show with your family, your broader community. Operation Save America will be organizing kind of state-by-state response for the ballot that's happening in November.
Yeah, go to our website, operationsaveamerica.org, get plugged in.
OperationSaveAmerica.org. Join the email list, get plugged in, and they'll be organizing things going on in your state. What are those top states again? The 6 states?
Florida, Arkansas, Missouri, Arizona, Montana, and South Dakota are the states as of now.
Okay, so 6 states
And
that abortion will be on the docket come November. You find out what's going on in one of your states, one of those 6 states. You find out, and we got to have a victory in November. So get involved, get engaged in those 6 states. We've already lost Ohio. Ohio's blue collar, conservative, voted mostly for Trump. We already lost Ohio on this. Abortion is enshrined in Ohio's constitution, and you don't want that enshrined in your state. So figure out which state you're in. You should know that.
all hands on deck.
OperationSaveAmerica.com. Thank you guys for tuning in and sharing the show.
And this guy's preaching tonight.
That's right.
Come down,
Check out our
Christchurch,
Facebook
Nashville.
page. Our Facebook page will be live.
Live
This
streaming?
guy will be preaching.
Live
Yep.
streaming. So
And then Dr. George Grant as well. So,
Operation Save America's Facebook page for
Yes,
tonight for the
that's right.
live stream. Share that too. It's
Yeah.
a great way to bring awareness to everything that's going on. Thank you guys for tuning in.
Amen. Thank you.